How's it going, guys? I'm Danny, and I am here with my answers to your questions. I also have a mini in my pocket that I forgot about till just now. I need a disc too. Here's disc. All right. First one, do you think it's a good idea for someone who is wanting to improve their competitive play to maybe play up divisions? Yes. I think that it's good to play up. Some people don't, because if you're happy with where you are and you play up, you're going to be disappointed. And that could not be as fun, but I think a vast majority of people are going to improve by playing up, because that forces you to be better. It forces you to be on your A game. My big tell is when you play poorly and you still cash, that's when you need to move up. Next one, I've been playing disc golf since about 2004 and have fairly decent footwork. However, when I get to a course that was built with shorter tee pads, it seems to affect my shot. What are some ways to address this issue without completely changing my footwork? I like to change what foot I start on the tee pad with. So if I don't have super long tee pads, I'll start with my right foot. If I have long tee pads and all the space in the world, I'll start with both feet. And if I have even less space, I'll do like a half X step, but I always start with my right foot when space is an issue. For the back foot, do you push hard off your back foot for the rotation of the hips, or does the rotation come from the hips themselves? So I addressed this a little bit in my toe dragging video. You might want to go check that one out. It's not a firm, it's not a super strong motion. It's not like that's where you're focusing all of your energy, but it's supposed to be firm. So you want to have the muscles in your leg engaged so they sort of drive the weight shift, but you don't want to be launching yourself off the ground, because that's gonna make the rest of your form just fall apart. As a beginner, why can everything I throw go the same distance? Putters, mids, and drivers. 100% nose up. This is very common. People throw discs nose up, and putters and mids will fly okay if they're nose up, but drivers don't. So you end up with putters and mids that go like 90% of their whole distance, and drivers that go like 70% of their whole distance, and it ends up being the same thing. So focus on getting your nose down, get your hand on the outside, and get that disc down rather than up, and you will see a much better result. Someone's question is just hyzer flip. Always is my answer. No, it says hyzer flip, and what's a good trilogy disc to start to learn with? I throw with more of a flex now and been watching many people get big distance with the hyzer flip. So flex shots are not as accurate as hyzer flips. They don't go as far as hyzer flips. The key to hyzer flips is you can throw a less stable disc. That's going to get you more glide. It's going to get you a lot more control on the shot. Hyzer flips are awesome, but you have to throw a less stable disc. So I would suggest grabbing, if you're a newer player, grab something like a hatchet, or maybe a breakout, or a thief, or just something that has some good turn, and go out with that disc and your putter and learn how to control your angles, learn how to make that disc do what you want to do, because you're going to learn how to throw with that hyzer release, and you're going to learn how to really control your angles. You don't want to grab something fast. You don't want to grab a renegade. You don't want to grab a freedom. Something like that's just going to mask all your errors. You want to pick something slow and something understable and throw that on every hole. You're not going to shoot your best round ever, but that's going to get you a lot more of a clean release. It's going to force you to throw on that hyzer. That's going to give you more power too. For an amateur that wants to know more about what she carries in her bag, describe understable, stable, and overstable, and what the speed, glide, turn, fade, flight numbers. Anyway, understable, stable, and overstable. Stability is a spectrum. It refers to how much a disc resists turning, and so an overstable disc is really stable. That means it's not going to turn out of your hand. It's going to resist that turn. An understable disc doesn't have much stability to it. It's going to flip right over out of your hand. I'm talking about this in depth in my next video that I am so excited for. It's coming out on Tuesday. I'm super pumped. So it'll come out quick. As far as speed, glide, turn, fade, fight numbers, don't really worry about them. The two that I would focus on would be speed and turn. Speed is going to tell you whether it's a driver, a fairway, a mid, or a putter, and turn is generally going to tell you how much turn it's going to have. But I wouldn't put too much stock into those at all. Standstill shots. Is it more about the follow through or the reach back to control power? 100% the reach back. I had in my video on standstill approaches, I like to only reach back to the left side of my chest and then just pop the disc out and follow through normal, and that's going to give me a nice controlled power on that shot there. What have been some of your personal goals for the sport, and of those, what have you achieved? Well, you ask a question about me. Of course I'm going to answer it. I love talking about myself. My goal for this year was to be 975 rated. I'm 972. And if my last two tournaments had been put in by the deadline, they were really close to it. So it's completely understandable that they were missed. That would have been cool. I probably would have gotten over 975. So I'm calling that a win. And next year I'm going to be 990. I really always wanted to be able to throw farther, and I'm still wanting to push that, but really the rating goal was really my goal for this year. Tips for forehand upshots. I'm pretty good with a high-speed driver, but turn over slower speed discs forehand too easily. So you're probably throwing with a wobble or like a lot of nose down. and the slower discs are going to show that more. So focus on keeping your follow through up, keeping your follow through on the same plane as the angle you're throwing on. You don't really want to throw up shots flat because that's going to require on the disc to decide when to fade, and that's not as controllable as if you keep it on a hyzer the whole time. Another tip is to sort of loft it up in the air and let it stall out and spike in towards the basket. You don't want to throw like a straight laser beam low shot that has to skip and settle right there. You want to sort of float it up and let it bank into the basket. Also, make sure when I throw my forehands, I turn my fingers sideways into the rim rather than like this. Turn them like that, and that means that I can follow through with the natural motion of my wrist, and I just keep my thumb up. I keep my thumb and I keep my follow through on that same plane, and it gives me a lot more control over my forehand releases. Tips for forehand grips. See the last question. I have issues with wobbling. Keep your follow through on the same plane. I'm 6'3" and was curious if it was better for us taller guys to pull through lower. I saw thumb placement can change, but with the longer arms, I feel like there's a zone where the pull through should exist rather than straight across the chest. So you want to pull through wherever it's most compact. You want to have your hand on the outside with your wrist neutral. You don't want to be curling your wrist in. If your wrist is neutral and your hand's on the outside, you want to be your most compact state. So for me, that's right up here by my chest. But for somebody who has really long arms, really tall, it might be a little bit lower because you're going to be able to keep your wrist neutral and it's going to be more compact because your elbow isn't going to be sticking as far out this way. I bumped the mic like twice there, but I hope that noise doesn't come through. So try it. Try pulling through a little bit lower and moving your thumb in, but focus on still getting that nose down and just whipping your arm out in front of you, and that will help. Boy, my bed looks terrible. I didn't even try to make it. Cool. What would you say is the most aha moment in going from am to pro? I would say it's really the weight shift here as you're shifting your weight from your left foot to your right foot. You'll see in the slow motion video I have here, the technique is just perfect. You really want to get that weight shift down and really focus on, driving the disc. It's got to be the power pocket. You got to pull the disc into the power pocket. If you get the power pocket here made correctly, you'll be set. That's going to compress all of your energy down, and the disc is going to launch out. So that would be the most aha moment. Basically, how do you throw farther is a different way of phrasing this question. How do you increase your putting range? You really want to use your legs. So when I'm lining up my putt, my weight's in between my legs, and then I start my putt with my weight over my back leg. Ricky Wysocki talks about this in one of his clinics. And then as I follow through, my back leg will naturally push and finish towards the thing. And that's how you use your legs. You don't want to consciously think, I've got to push with my legs to make this putt. How's the transfer of weight between the toes and the heels of the front footwork? There's really not too much transfer of weight here. You really just start sort of off of it, and then it comes really down onto it. Oh. You're probably still talking about throwing a disc. Okay, when you set your foot down, your weight isn't really over your toe. Your toe is just there and it lines up your hips correctly. And then as your weight comes in, that's when you smash your heel down. Check out Crush the Can by Seabass22. It's also in my drills video, but he talks about it much longer than I do. So check out that video for sure. And the last question, dropped a message with a video, maybe break down my throw. So I've been doing form critiques for a year now, and I love doing it. I love watching people improve. I love working with people. I love helping people and watching them have that aha moment. But I have too many. It's getting to be such a big workload. I'm making these question and answer videos, and I have 40 questions, 40 form critiques to do right now, and they take about 10 minutes each. So that's 7 hours of typing. And it's too big of a workload. I can't do it. So I can't keep up with the form critiques. But as a consolation, I'm going to do a weekly video like this one where I post and I ask for your videos. And if you post a video of you throwing, I will break it down in the video with like screenshots and everything. And that's what I'm gonna have to do instead of doing the form critiques. I'm sorry guys, I really wish I could keep doing them, but it's just too much work. I can't keep up with it. So thank you for understanding, thank you for your patience, and thank you for watching. Always remember, slow is smooth and smooth is far. Thanks guys.